Story 1. My fiancée admitted to me that approaching her in public was horribly intimidating, and she has no idea why she said yes when I asked for her number. This is the woman I'm marrying next year. I saw her and knew I had to take my chance. She saw me and said I was scary. It still stings. Asking a woman for her phone number is horribly intimidating for men and can lead to some cruel responses. The only alternative is a dating app, and those don't work well for men. Story 2. My theory, based on my experience, is that what makes a man attractive to a woman is much more difficult to convey in a simple profile than what makes a woman attractive to a man. It's a generalization, but I think it is a legitimate trend. Story 3. 1. People have gotten worse at socializing. People have become more dependent on dating applications to meet potential partners. People have become more political and less tolerant of dating someone from the other side. Women do not tolerate as much bad behavior as they used to. Story 4. Best I can tell, people keep conflating dating and dating applications. Those things are 60 to 80% men. Of course, it's not going to be the same kind of experience. Guys seem to really struggle to maintain a varied social life. I don't just mean the loneliness crisis. I also mean how many people are sticking to insular activities with a small group. So even if they're socializing a lot, they're not really meeting new people in any organic way, which kind of feeds into the first point since they try to solve that with applications. Story 5. Our whole social world is unraveling, so of course dating is getting harder for everyone. People in general have fewer friends than ever, and men are staying virgins at an incredibly high rate. These things are linked. Dating is a particularly intensive and complex part of life. If the rest of life is not going so well, dating probably won't either. Not if you don't have some trait that allows you to temporarily pretend everything is cool. Story 6. The dating market for me didn't exist at all from about 1989 to 1993. I was living with my parents, losing my hair, and stocking shelves in a grocery store for a living at the time. The dating market turned around completely for me when I shaved my head, got a high-paying job, and moved into my own apartment. Story 7. There is a huge confluence of issues, some that uniquely affect straight men and others that don't. There's obviously more than what I'm listing, and these are systemically applicable, meaning they may not all affect someone on an individual level, but they are likely impacting other men around them. Women in our current state of modern society don't need a relationship to survive, so they don't need to settle for someone unimpressive, leading men to feel jealousy towards other men and disdain for the women unwilling to accept them as they are. An inability to understand and subsequently match those changing expectations. Many men don't actually know how to impress a woman while staying true to who they are. While culture has been shifting a lot over the last few decades, it's feeling more prominent than ever. Increased cost of living means fewer men are financially stable, and many aren't even financially independent. Because many were taught that financially providing for a family is the best way to provide for a family, they're struggling to stand out. Many young men were raised under even slightly outdated ideals and have misaligned priorities when it comes to what women are looking for in a partner, such as equally caring for children or the home. Lots of men genuinely think that doing all of the childcare some of the time means they're a primary caregiver, when really they're part-time. A unique situation where men are both very desperate for love and affection but have often unfair beauty standards, thanks largely to popular media, leads men to genuinely being unable to explore their wants and needs in a partner, and often settling for a partner they think they want. Due to the long overdue and justified backlash against many men in power and the systems and establishments that have held women back for decades, some bad actors weaponize the movement and shield themselves from individual accountability as they treat men in their life poorly. Unfortunately, this can radicalize those men and lead to further cultural and political divides with the women they were initially interested in. The poor economic state for many men often leads to poorer health conditions as well, and an inability to climb out of that unfortunate spiral into poor gut health, obesity, and subsequent depression. There's a mental health crisis affecting every demographic, sometimes in different ways, and men are often suffering from it the most. This can manifest as requiring more emotional support than they were taught they'd need from a partner, or requiring some level of professional support or intervention, and at worst, it can lead to lethal consequences for them or other people around them, such as self-harm, murder-suicides, and mass shootings. Obviously, these are just the generalized issues I could think of, and it's still a lot. There's way more that's having an impact as well, and there's a flip side to all of these issues when exploring a woman's experience when dating, plus much more nuance when talking about any of these issues. Story 8. As a woman, I think it's because more women are opting to be single and not dating at all. You're not competing with other guys, you're competing with her couch, television, and time with friends. Story 9. There is no simple answer. We are all figuring it out as we go. Speaking from an American point of view, these last 20 to 30 years have been absolutely transformative for our culture. The relationship dynamics of prior generations have largely shifted. Pressures have changed. We are trying more than ever as a society to be more aware of our actions, to learn from our traumas. At the same time, gender dynamics have shifted. Women, while still disadvantaged, have more freedom than in the past to earn for themselves and to establish boundaries without worrying about their financial futures. We have been absolutely convinced that love is what is most important and that our partners should be our greatest ally in all aspects of life. All while the idea of the nuclear family and dominance of suburban life have diluted the importance and impact of social networks and social support. People born between 1977 and 1985, those born from 1981 to 1996, and Generation Z are the first generations to have to figure this all out. We have no blueprint for what a modern love, modern relationship is supposed to look like. We have all these experts telling us a million different things, all while trying to figure out our own challenges. In the meantime, social media has completely changed how we interact with each other, including dating applications. It is no wonder people are lost. That does not mean we should not try. We can all spend time thinking about how to better ourselves and how we can better understand each other. Story 10. Social media has ensured that every woman will hear about the misbehavior of any man out there. This hyper-awareness puts all women on edge, which makes it difficult for the rest of us. Story 11. I noticed things began to change once social media and dating applications came out. Dating applications used to be easier, but now they are playgrounds for women to get followers. Sad times, but it's true. Story 12. Women don't really need you for anything. You have to show that spending time with you is going to be an improvement in her life over not having you around. Too many men fail that evaluation horribly. Story 13. A lot of men will disagree, but mainly because women expect more from men now. Not money or material things, but more emotional maturity and the ability to be self-sufficient. The number of horror stories I've heard from married women about their husbands who cannot communicate, won't help with housework, or the children they help to create makes me want to be single forever. Story 14. To me, there are two schools of thought. On one hand, you have this high-speed world where, even outside of dating apps, girls are connecting with the best men they can find, whether it be superficial or not. This can be demoralizing to someone like Johnny, who has been nice, classy, and a hard worker in all aspects, to see that the girls he would like to be with have had encounters in questionable circumstances because there was a rumor that Bryce from Sigma Chi was remarkably appealing. On the other hand, outside of high-speed dating and apps like Tinder, you have people who claim they want to settle down, start a family, and take things seriously. There are both guys and girls like this. However, there is the risk of dating someone for 5 years, only to find out that they weren't faithful or they turn abusive, and many people aren't willing to put themselves in a position to find out if the risk is worth it. Neither of these scenarios truly captures how I view things, and neither point elaborates well enough to make complete sense, but I only get a 15-minute lunch break, so make of it what you will. Story 15. People go to work, come home, sit alone, and use the internet or watch TV. They may run errands. Everywhere is in and out. It's not like in school, where you meet about 300 people every year. Technology and cars have divided us. Aggressive men have taught women that guys approaching them are monsters by saying yes the first time and then it goes bad. So most guys don't approach unless they are sure. This leads to dating apps because it's all about looks on both sides. It's mostly just attractive, terrible people being disrespectful to each other. And that gets out and the numbers don't line up, so it's all problematic. It's going to take some creative technology and living conditions. Story 16. There's more of us single and looking than there are women single and looking. And even decent men need to answer for the actions of the worst men. Story 17. Men are being convinced that the dating market is so bad for men, so they stop participating or working on themselves and create a self-fulfilling prophecy. Story 18. I think women are more independent today than they were 10 to 20 years ago. They prioritize education and jobs and are more selective. This creates either a temporary or permanent shift in the dating dynamics regarding age. The average age of losing virginity has risen for both men and women, but more so for men in the last decade. I think more and more women just don't prioritize settling into a long-term relationship in their 20s, which is a big contrast to 20 years ago. I also think the internet might have something to do with it in one or multiple ways. Less boredom creates less pressure to socialize, especially in ways that are out of people's comfort zones. Maybe some internet communities or YouTube dating content have their part in it, especially the strange YouTube advice that has always felt like it has really weird tips and might have created some convoluted effects. Story 19. A lot of factors. Dating apps and social media make dating easier because you can meet almost every single person in town just by swiping. Women are financially independent more so than 30 to 50 years ago, which makes them more likely to wait for marriage. COVID somehow makes people a little more awkward socially. Hookup culture and sex before marriage are more socially acceptable than decades ago. I feel that inflation also affects dating life, as it seems people are going out less and less to save some money. Story 20. Some species will have fewer dating during times when the economy is scarce. Replace dating with dating, replace economy with economy. Humans are just animals. The rules apply to us too. Story 21. Because everyone is scared to settle. Yet they don't realize they are not that big of a catch and still expect this perfect partner in regards to looks, finances, and so on. Story 22. Dating apps can be frustrating in general, as evident in the data on how each gender rates each other. In real life, you might go with your friends to a bar for a beer. There could be a group of girls also having a beer. Approaching them and asking for a number is often considered creepy now. Hitting on someone at the gym is also seen as creepy. So, the options are very limited. Story 23. I genuinely think there is a growing divide between the ideals of men and women. I saw a chart recently showing the gender divide in politics. Young women are increasingly liberal, while young men are increasingly conservative. Story 24. Only in 2024? Laughing out loud. It is the internet, too many options for women. Basically every single guy in her age range within a 100-kilometer radius or even farther. Some decades ago, guys only had to compete with other guys in town, maybe with the ones in the next town. Story 25. Because it's bad for everyone. I know everyone likes to complain about women having so much choice on dating websites, but that's shallow and sexual in nature. I hear plenty of women complaining that they can't get a loyal man anymore either. Not because of hypocrisy, but because the dating sphere is focused on sex and one-night stands. Story 26. Based on my experiences at the various places I have worked, a lot of average men are overweight and do not seem very well kept in terms of facial hair, haircut, clothes, and so on. Many of them lack basic bathroom hygiene, such as not washing their hands or flushing the urinal. On top of that, the way many speak is like using casual language, or they seem to take themselves too seriously. Story 27. Because women are realizing that they would rather be alone than date a bad man. We men are not just competing with other men for women anymore, we're competing with a woman's comfortable solitude. As economic opportunities equalize for women, they are becoming more independent, self-driven, and self-sufficient. They no longer need us to be the breadwinners in the way they used to because it has become culturally acceptable for them to do the jobs that only we could do before. Why rely on us to bring home those six-figure information technology salaries when they can just get that job themselves? Women still want men, of course. And that's why they continue to seek men, for sex, emotional availability, and the economic opportunities afforded to couples. But, and this goes for all genders, being a part of a relationship means you are compromising on your independence and agency in order to work as part of a team with your partner. And if your partner does not bring anything to the table to compensate for their disruption of your independence and agency, then what's the point in dating them? In short, the standards have risen. Story 28. Woman here. I live a very happy life. I am independent, ambitious, have hobbies, a great social life, etc. If I am going to entertain a man, he needs to be a perk in my life. Emotionally unavailable or immature, poor communicator, still trying to figure out their life at 36, no goals, do not prioritize their mental health, mediocre sex, is not a perk. I would rather be single,